What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are officially a day away from Sunday's kickoff, New York Giants versus Minnesota Vikings. And today I'm just going to give you my full picks for that week, as well as my full preview for the Giants versus the Vikings. And then, as always, just some bold predictions for that ball game. Before I hop into that, the contest is still going on. It's a free giveaway. All the information to win this card is on my Twitter. It's an autographed Devin Bush rookie card, 3 of only 5 made. So check out my Twitter and know how to enter for this. But without further ado, let's hop right into my picks for this week. For the first time since week 1, I will be going into Sunday 1-0. Those Thursday night games have been a struggle for me as of late, but we did secure the win. The Seahawks came out over the Rams, so I am starting out 1-0. Hopefully that's good fortune for the rest of the week, for Sunday, I should say, because it was a rough go of it last week. Definitely my worst record of this season for sure. I went 6-9. So including Thursday's game right now for the season, I'm sitting at 39-24-1. Very average, but a good week can definitely bring that overall up. But now looking ahead to Giants versus Vikings, this should be a very heavily contested ball game. There are definitely a lot of storylines kind of circulating around right now in the media. If we're going to start on the defensive side of things for the Giants, first thing I, of course, have to report is Alec Ogletree and Tate Davis will both already be ruled out for this ball game. So we will have, once again, backups at middle linebacker. That Ryan Connolly injury definitely hurt us a lot. Obviously, the ACL tear for him, so we're not going to see him for a long time. And now we have these two out, so we are going to be rolling with backups once again. Currently, Lorenzo Carter is listed as questionable, so he is going to be probably a game time decision, but I do expect him to play. So now, if you're a Minnesota fan, there's been nothing but concerning headlines in regards to your offense. For starters, both of your superstar wide receivers have clearly been frustrated, and they finally started to vent that frustration. For starters, Adam Thielen, immediately following the loss to the Bears last week, showed his frustration in his post-game press conference, basically saying that they're not getting it done right now, and he's very displeased with the performance by Kirk Cousins. He brought up several occasions where he was open and Kirk took a little dump off pass or didn't even look his way, or a time that I can recall Thielen would have been into the end zone. He overshot him, so Thielen obviously very discouraged. Then just days later, this tweet from Stefon Diggs began to stir up even more drama, speculating that he wanted out of Minnesota, that he wanted to be traded. And complete side note, people that are tweeting that they want Stefon Diggs on their team, they want their team to trade for him, and you spell his name wrong, I don't know why it's so infuriating, but just Google it. Like, it's F-O-N, not P-H-E-N-O-N-A-N. Ugh. Anyways, of course I mentioned this in my top 5 things to watch for video, but Diggs, when given the opportunity to kind of clarify what was going on and what he meant by that tweet, I guess, even though it was just an emoji, he kind of clarified by saying the rumors are true in a sense. He was asked, is there any truth to the rumor that you want out of Minnesota? And he said that there's truth to all rumors. So that certainly didn't diffuse the bomb. It did not lighten the tension in the room. Diggs is currently listed as questionable for this ball game. Very interesting situation here. Whether or not he plays is completely up in the air. Yeah, there's really nothing else to report. There's no injury. He just has personal issues, personal injury, personal situation. When your team is struggling, the last thing you want to hear from your 2 biggest playmakers on offense is that they're not satisfied. But if you look at the numbers, they're completely justified in their anger. Kirk Cousins has been anything but effective this season in terms of moving the ball down the field. Just for comparison purposes, let's take a look at the 2 starters for this ball game, Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins. Now, while looking over these stats and these numbers here, I just want you to keep in mind that Daniel Jones didn't begin starting ball games until week number 3. He got in for a very short time versus Dallas, only accumulated 17 total passing yards, so we can let that rest. So let's just go with the fact that Kirk Cousins has played in 2 full games more than Daniel Jones. Now, if we take a look at the numbers here, the first thing that jumped out to me personally was the fact that Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins have the same amount of touchdown passes. Compared to a guy that, I don't want to say lit it up last season, but had a very productive year, that's not great. Then Jones in 2 less games only has 15 less pass completions and only 157 less passing yards. In addition to that, if you look at passes beyond 20 yards, Kirk Cousins in 2 more games only has 1 more than Daniel Jones. And then if you look at passes beyond 40 yards, they are tied at 2 apiece. If that doesn't show how poorly Kirk Cousins has assisted his wide receivers, nothing else will. Just for further clarification, I'm going to use this graphic once again that they used on Good Morning Football just to portray how poor of a start it has been for Minnesota. As you can see, compared to last season, these numbers are significantly lower. But of course, this isn't just limited to the wide receivers of Minnesota. If we take a look at their tight ends as well, Kyle Rudolph, sure-handed vet on the team, and then of course Irv Smith Jr., a rookie this season, they both only have 5 receptions apiece, and neither of them have over 65 receiving yards this season. It's clear that even when dinking and dunking and not attacking downfield, he's still not even attacking with his wide receivers. And this is blatantly obvious if you take a look at last game against the Bears. Of the 27 completions that Kirk Cousins had, a whopping 12 of them were either to running backs or fullbacks. So with the Vikings sitting at 2-2, I'm sure you're questioning, how would these numbers have they won 2 games? Well, that's simple. Dalvin Cook. Cook has finally appeared to put his injury struggles from 2017 and 2018 behind him, and he's legitimately looking like one of the best running backs in the NFL this season. Going into this week, Dalvin Cook is second in the league in rushing yards with 410, only being behind Christian McCaffrey by a single yard. Beyond that, Cook is also tied for first in rushing touchdowns this season with 5. So clearly in this ballgame, there is going to be a heavy dose of Dalvin Cook, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they put in a heavy dose of passing as well. With everything going on right now in the media, in the locker room for Minnesota, I'm sure they would want nothing more than to just squash all of this out and be done with it. Thielen is frustrated. Diggs seemingly wants out, and I'm sure Rudolph is not ecstatic either. I'm sure those trade rumors to him to the Patriots a few months ago is starting to sound even better in his head. The only way to calm that noise is to put it out on the field, to show that there are no problems. It's just been a rough start to the season. So I would not be surprised at all if there was a heavy pass focus in this ballgame. So for us on defense, it's simple. We need to have a duplicate performance of what we put up against Washington. They looked very good last week against Washington. Obviously, the injuries had a factor in that. No Jordan Reed, no Terry McLaurin. Of course, that's all factored in. But still, even beyond that, the threats in Minnesota are much, much different. Adam Thielen, one of the best in the league. Stephon Diggs, when given opportunities, looks like a very elite wide receiver. 2 very dangerous tight ends. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a true test for the Giants defense here, and to show whether or not 2019 is a year that we're actually going to contend in. It's not all on the shoulders of our secondary, though. The fact is, we need a complete defensive performance. I mean, I know that sounds obvious, but mainly pressure from our defensive line on Kirk Cousins. We need to get in his face because it's been shown time and time again that when he's under duress, he's not the type of guy to just heave it up and take a risk downfield. He's going to go with the safest and most conservative option, whether that be taking a sack or dumping it off to his running back. As I already mentioned, of those 27 completions against the Bears, 12 was to either a running back or a fullback. That is a big chunk of your completions that are kind of going nowhere in a sense if you're playing the proper defense. Now, I explained this in my top 5 things to watch for video, but it is key to have the pressure come from the D-line. With an offense like Minnesota's, the way Kirk Cousins plays, we need as many guys in pass coverage as possible. Of course, we're going to dial up blitzes and have our linebackers sent because realistically, they have had the bulk of our pressure this year. But if we're getting pressure from our D-line, that leaves our linebackers to stay in coverage. So if Kirk does do these little dink and dunk passes to his running backs, we're going to have guys there. And if we don't have guys there, a pass caught 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage can get a hell of a lot more after the running back takes off with the ball. So to the big man up front, this is your time to shine. This is your game. I'm expecting big things from Dexter Lawrence in terms of clogging up rushing lanes and stopping Dalvin Cook. And then BJ Hill, I'm going to get to my bold predictions later on, but he is going to be a key factor in those bold predictions. So now if we bounce on over to our offense, let's just get this out of the way. Saquon Barkley has been ruled out for this ball game. And personally, I believe it's the smart decision. Part of me wishes they withheld this information a little bit longer to give the Vikings a little less notice of Barkley being out. But realistically, practice has already been done. All that's left is really a walkthrough, I suppose. Personally, the reason I think this is a good idea is because if Barkley was ready to go for this game, he's going to be even more ready to go for the Patriots game. We've kind of shown on offense we have a bit of a groove going. We've shown that we can move the ball without him on the field. Now, am I saying that we're better with him not on the field? That'd be the dumbest statement of all time. Barkley moves our offense. He makes our offense what it is. But we've shown that maybe we have a little bit of time for him to rest. Like, we're not that under duress without him. There's obviously no replacing Saquon Barkley. It would be impossible. No running back in the league can do what he do the way he does it. But Wayne Gallman has filled in very nicely in Barkley's absence. So as I said, why re-aggravate an injury by coming back too soon in a game that we might be okay without him? Yes, the Vikings have a very, very good defense. But as I mentioned, their offense is struggling. It may be a shootout. I love a good offensive ball game, but let's give Barkley the time. Like I said, if he was ready to go in this one, he's going to be more than ready to go by Thursday when we take on the Patriots in prime time. With that being said, though, Minnesota has a very dangerous defense that can hurt you in multiple ways. They have very diverse players that can stop you in the run game, cover you in the pass game, and then rush you as well in the pass game. As a team thus far, the Minnesota Vikings have 3 total interceptions, 2 for safety Anthony Harris and 1 for Harrison Smith. But as you know, for Harrison Smith, he's a lot more than just a coverage guy. He comes up and makes big hits and forces that ball loose, which he has done this season with his forced fumble and also a fumble recovery. He's also second on the team in tackles with 24 as it stands right now. He's not the only one that's dangerous in both aspects of the game. Xavier Rhodes, even at 29, is still one of the more dangerous and physical corners in the ball game, and we're definitely going to need to account for him. One thing I'm definitely looking forward to this week is we're getting a huge boost on offense. Golden Tate is set to make his regular season debut for the Giants. That suspension is done, and I'm expecting for him to put on a show why he is still a coveted receiver in this league. You know, a lot of people might have forgotten because of his poor stint in Philadelphia where he was vastly underutilized. And then even at the end of his term in Detroit, he was kind of overshadowed by the young Galladay and Marvin Jones Jr. So, I mean, I really think he's going to take full advantage of this opportunity in this ball game, no matter who is heading him up. I would assume it would be Xavier Rhodes. One of the matchups I am very interested in watching all game, and I could only assume this is what's going to happen. Evan Ingram, who is clearly having the best season of his career, is going to have one of his toughest tests of his career as well. I believe at this point he's a glorified wide receiver, but he also has improved his blocking greatly. And I believe in this ball game it is going to be Harrison Smith head up on Evan Ingram all game, and that is a matchup that I cannot wait to see. But just as scary as their coverage team, their secondary, is their pass rush rotation. They already have 4 guys with multiple sacks this year, headed up, of course, by Daniel Hunter, who is setting himself up for another big season in Minnesota. Last year, he had 14.5 sacks, and this year, through 4 games, he already has 3. Beyond him, former Giant Linval Joseph is on the line for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Joseph isn't exactly a pass rush guy, but he can get to the quarterback, but I'm more so expecting to see him use his large frame to block up those rushing lanes for Wayne Gallman and attempt to shut down this rushing attack. On offense, of course, it's going to be a heavy dose of Daniel Jones. I believe we need to set him up for success the way we did early on in that Washington game, utilizing Wayne Gallman out of the backfield. I just hope he cleans up some of those errors, like those deep air passes downfield. I'm expecting a good performance. I mean, we have another weapon out there for him in Golden Tate, a veteran wide receiver who kind of knows it all in this league. So I'm expecting him to utilize him a lot. Danny Dimes just needs to play his game, and I believe we can come out with a victory. Now, just to wrap things up here and give some bold predictions for the ball game, I believe the Giants will come away, as I just said, with their 3rd consecutive victory of the season with a final score of 27-24. A couple bold predictions for this ball game. I believe Golden Tate, in his first game back, will eclipse 100 receiving yards. He will show why he is still a coveted wide receiver in this league. And a second one, with the pressure being given up by the Minnesota offensive line, a staggering 33.3%, there is pressure on Kirk Cousins. I believe 5 separate Giants will come away with at least 1 sack in this ball game, headed up by B.J. Hill. I believe B.J. Hill will finally get his first individual sack of the season in this ball game. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoy all the ball games this Sunday. As always, I will be here Sunday night for the post-game review and reactions to that game. News videos next week, as well as Madden franchise and QB1. So be on the lookout for all those postings. Check my Twitter for the giveaway information so you can get this Devin Bush autographed rookie card. But beyond that, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and sub to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one, guys.